Hey, everybody, it's Chris over at Dixieland Farm. Sorry about the headphones, but that makes it so that way I can hear what's going on the computer, but it won't be so loud when you hear it, and I'll mix all the audio together, and you'll be able to see what I'm seeing. So, I'm going to just show off real quick orthographic scenery in X-Plane. So X-Plane 11 is what I use. It runs in Linux. And what ortho scenery is satellite imagery, usually, of the ground. And X-Plane is able to put that into the simulator. And also it's got what's called mesh data, the contours of the Earth. And then it also loads in street map data, so where buildings and roads and train lines, and all that goes on top of the satellite imagery. So satellite imagery is not put out by default by the program. You have to get a separate freeware program called Ortho4XP, and you build the tiles that you want. And it's not distributed one because there's cost, but you downloading and making it yourself is personal use, so that gets around that issue. And size. These files can be huge. I'm doing level 16, which is a little blurry, but much gentler. It's only a gig per tile. And the next drop up is like 10 gigs a tile, and then the highest level is 20 gigs. The program is smart enough to know that where airports are, it bumps up the quality just a bit right around the airports. So when you're low to the ground, the imagery looks better, and then as you raise up, the imagery starts fading out into that lower quality. So let's just do a quick fly over the Orlando area. Without the ortho scenery, Orlando is very barren according to the street map data, and that's because there is just a lot of swampland. So, putting the orthographics back in, let's go take off from roughly Disney World. One of the issues with the ortho scenery, though, is the way trees are randomly generated inside X-Plane can be haphazard. There is a plugin that I got which is free called US Forests, I believe, and that actually maps the trees better. If it's a residential area, it cuts down those trees instead of just kind of randomly plopping them everywhere. Because what was happening was you'd have a building and then a tree would be randomly plopped up right on top of it, or a parking lot, or Walmart or something like that, and it'd be like you can see the outline of Walmart and then a little tree. So let's go take a quick flight, and we're going to use the built-in Cessna because it's a high-wing airplane, so we can see out the windows quickly. I'm going to just cut right to it. Okay, so here we are at the field. See where it starts getting a little fuzzy? That's the orthographic scenery. And then here are the trees that are just kind of randomly plopped in there. You can see, yeah, there, through the window. There's the parking lot, right? Alright, let's go inside. Let's lower the flaps. Got the mixture up. Anything else we need to do other than we're going to turn off the yoke here. We got basically all the lights on, sure, why not? And our trim is set correctly. Outside. We're looking good. I'm going to hold down the brakes so that way we can get the engine running up just a little bit so we can take off a little bit quicker. Ready for the takeoff? You strapped in? Did you put your seatbelt on? You did? Great. Let's go ahead and over here. Get the throttle going, and let's release those toe brakes, and we're going to steer with our feet because that also controls the nose wheel. I still have a surgical boot on, so my rudder work is a little clumsy. But let's take off. There we go. We're taking off as quickly as we can, as high as we can. Side view, you can see how it's blurry down here at the bottom. That orthographic scenery. Once we're up in the air a little bit, you'll see that it's much better. When you're right down there on the ground, you can say, wow, that doesn't really look that good. Again, I could spend a lot of disk space and make that look so much better, but since most of the time you're up in the air, it's not. I'm not saying it's a waste. I'm just saying it's a lot of resource that I don't want to spend. So I'm not really paying attention to flying straight. So let's go ahead and fly straight. But as we increase, we're just going to kind of do circles around Epcot here. You can see we got Orlando there and sort of in the background. Right, can we? Let's raise those flaps a little more. There you go. There's Orlando. So we're about 1,000 feet up in the air. You see the parking lot. You can see that satellite imagery just starting to come into play. And there is what we would call a Communicore, and the World Showcase Lagoon. And we're going to just keep increasing. Off our left wing there, you see it's starting to get better, that satellite imagery. Now, without this satellite imagery, it would just be just generic, whatever the OpenStreet data would say, which was probably swampland, or it would just be nothing. It would just be trees, maybe some grass. But by downloading the satellite imagery, we actually have what it is. And we got, I think that's Disney Springs off our left wing again. And we're just doing slow, so at 2,000 feet here, let's take a little peek outside, right? Ah, that's starting to look a little better from up here. So we got the parking lot. We got Epcot there. And Disney Springs is starting to look better now. So let's start paying attention. Let's go up to 3,000 feet and see what it actually looks like. We have the roads that are drawn in now. Orlando traffic would obviously be much busier than that, but you can see we got virtual trucks and cars being on I-4 there. And now we are looking at Epcot from roughly 2,900 feet. And we're up to 3,000. What do we look like outside now? Now we're getting somewhere. Here we are, doing circles at 4,000 feet. Can you see why I'm interested in doing this flight simulator stuff? Look how neat that is. I mean, it's real imagery that I built myself, so I've got a little bit of ownership and pride, even though I really didn't do anything except click a bunch of stuff. Real world objects, real world locations. Got just a little bit of haze like you would. And Chris, what about at dusk? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's go ahead and let's add some dusk time to it. Again, look at the detail. Do they add more traffic because it's nighttime? To me, it sure looks like it. Hey, while you're here, do you want to go dive straight down Orlando real quick? Yeah. The nice thing is we can do that. We can just speed up the time here. So these buildings in the distance are not pictures. This is a freeware. Somebody built Orlando. I downloaded it and I put it inside my custom scenery file. Totally free. That is what downtown Orlando looks like. Let's zoom in a little bit. Fantastic. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for coming with me real quick here. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to go land. Take care.